Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the PHNX Coyotes Podcast. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah here with Sean and Petey. How about that?
Hell yeah. Thank you.
There we go.
About damn time.
Put some respect on Sean. Oh! Whoa! Oh, my goodness.
Much deserved.
Do
you know he's the most versatile employee at PHNX?
Yeah, it's insane.
I'd like to see who checked off more shows of boxes of the shows than
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Shane is fully capable of doing everything that I'm doing.
Not saying that.
And the only reason I'm on everything is because
I'm saying, who's been on the most shows at PHNX?
It could be Saul.
That has appeared on. Saul's appeared on every show. I've never made like a real appearance on Suns or Cards really, but
yeah. He's a what's the night?
I've made an appearance on Suns.
Swiss Army
I don't
Knife.
think I was invited.
Swiss Army Knife.
Yeah, that's it. He's a Swiss Army Knife.
Jack of all trades, master of like one or two.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, Petey, we've made it through 2 full weeks without Craig. We had one little bit of
Is this it?
semi-breaking news
Yes.
last week with Shane Doan. And this is the final week, and Craig is coming home at the end of this week. He will be back on the show starting a week from today.
Okay.
But we made it.
We're almost made it.
We almost made it.
Yeah.
But we do have an update from Craig. And before you roll the video, Sean, so Craig is in the south of France right now. And Craig actually got a message from a PHNX Coyotes listener.
Yes.
I don't know if he's watching right now, but his name is Sebastian Wearmouth. He's actually from Vancouver, Canada, but is a bartender at this bar called Bar Sato at the Mayborn Riviera Hotel. It overlooks Monaco.
Bougie, like bougie.
Yeah.
This is as bougie as it gets.
So he reached out to Craig and said, hey, would love to have your family. And Craig sent some video of the views. So go ahead and run the tape. First of all, that's Sebastian at the bar. And if you're listening on audio, head on over to YouTube to watch this because the views you're about to see, that's
ridiculous.
Kidding me?
Come on.
This is the bar. Look at this. Panning out to the freaking south of France and Monaco. Look at that. The water.
Seriously.
So this is what Craig's doing. You're drinking your 10th cup of coffee on a Monday morning in downtown Phoenix.
Look at that.
So Sebastian, so nice of you to invite the Morgans to your bar. Craig did film a little interview with Sebastian. Craig, as we know, is the king of taking video and audio.
I feel bad for Sebastian because he took the time. Like, if Craig is going to do an interview on the other side of the world, would you think that you might try to get some audio with it? So it's a really beautiful interview. You just can't hear anything because it's in a very busy restaurant bar. So Sebastian, I'm so sorry that you don't get your props and your actual interview on the show because we can't hear it.
But we do know that Sebastian is a Coyotes fan because of fantasy hockey.
Yep, and he picked up a lot of Coyotes on fantasy hockey.
And then started watching our show midway through the season. So Sebastian, thank you, and I hope to one day come to that bar.
And so if you want to know how to get a job in the south of France as a bartender, how does Sebastian get his job, Leo?
Indeed.
Not
an ad.
Just jumped on Indeed. I thought I was picturing with a pencil going through the south of France want ads and circling things with a pencil. But no, I got it on Indeed. And now that's where he works with that view every day. Not that our view's bad. Well, it is bad because we don't open the windows because of this whole camera glare thing. So the view's bad, but that's amazing.
It's unreal.
So Sebastian, that's awesome. I'm glad he's a Coyote fan.
Yep. Thank you. More. Yep. Thank you. Well, we're going to talk about the Coyotes today, and we're going to talk about hockey stuff only, on ice stuff only.
Really?
We're continuing to not talk about the thing that's hanging over all of us. And I'm sorry. I know that's what people want to talk about, but the truth is we have nothing to report. Nope. So nothing else to add. Nope. And we're going to talk about this idea that the Coyotes are in year 3 of the rebuild coming up here. They had a drastic jump from year 1 of rebuild to year 2. I believe they jumped up 13 points from year 1 to year 2. Obviously outperformed expectations this last season. They're now picking 6th in the draft. In a draft we thought they'd be picking 1 or 2. Mullett Magic played a factor. Clayton Keller had a career year. Lawson Crouse had a career year. There were so many things that contributed to the Coyotes' success. And it begs the question, will they be better next season or will they be worse? Because progress is not always linear.
Wow.
And Bill Armstrong did sit here on our show most recently and say they're not making the playoffs next year. So at the very least, I mean, watch them frickin' do it. But at the very least, we know that. So Petey, we're gonna answer that question toward the end, but let's have a discussion about all the things.
There's so many different variables that we need to break down to get into the final solution of will they be better or worse. The frustrating thing for me when we have this discussion, and I think people need to be aware of, the rebuild is on progress. And Craig Button said we're moving from hope to belief because of the players that they're drafting and the prospects that they're getting. It's unfortunately not because they're here. And that's Logan Cooley, Geeky, Gunther, and whoever they're going to draft in the top 2 picks this year at 6 and 12. I think that's why there's so much belief and hope. Unfortunately, none of those people are coming to the RecSU for next year. So we're going to go through a bunch of different variables and categories and reasons why we think this may be better or worse.
All right. And let's start with the guys who really stepped up this season, despite playing on a roster that originally was thought to be the worst in the NHL. Clearly, they proved everybody wrong. And we'll start with the guys who had record years: Clayton, Keller, Lawson, Crouse, Barrett Hayton, and then Nick Schmaltz. Nick Schmaltz didn't have a record year, but they all had really high level years. Can they do that again next year?
Honestly, pretty unlikely. And when you have a career year, it's a career year because it's the best of your career. It's hard to do that year over year over year. At some point, you even out. Clayton Keller was, of all of these players, Clayton Keller is the one that you go, oh my gosh. Like he nearly broke the record for points by a Coyote in the franchise history. So to think that he can do that on again, probably not going to happen. Can he still be a 30-goal scorer? Can he still lead this team in points and goals? Absolutely. The kid can play. He's an all-star player for a reason. To think that he can match what he did a year ago in points-wise is going to be hard. I think the one, when we talk about Lawson Crouse, I think this is Lawson Crouse's bar. I think this is where he is going to perennial be. He's going to be a 20-goal scorer, and he's going to tease that 30 number. He may get closer to 30 this year, depending on who he plays with. Can he stay healthy? And all of those things. So I think he has more likelihood. I think the problem with Keller's is his bar was pushed so high. It's going to be hard for him to do that again. Is he still going to be elite? And can he do it again? I think the answer is yes.
I think if you put Clayton Keller on a line in 3 years with Logan Cooley or Dylan Gunther, like, does that change his output?
It does. And you're talking about your ability to put up more points and get more goals on a team that has better players and higher outputting offensive output. The answer is yes. You're going to get more points, more goals, more assists, more points, more power play points. All of those things are going to come with it. So I don't think this is the ceiling for Clayton Keller's career. I think it's going to be difficult for him to do it 2 years in a row with the roster that he is on.
Yes.
That's all. Yeah. And I think he will ultimately. This is a kid that could tease this record again. I just don't think it's going to be 2 years in a row. When you talk about the other two players, and that's Schmaltz and Hayton. I'm going to go to Schmaltz first. The last 2 seasons, Schmaltz played 63 games. Both years, 63 games. He's going to have to make a complete season healthy. He has to. I think we've talked about his consistency year over year over year. Nick Schmaltz gets hurt. And now whether that's a product of the way he plays or his game preparation or his physical size and stature, I'm not sure. But he needs to play a full season. But you look at his numbers when he's in the lineup, 23 goals, 22 goals. Schmaltz needs to be a guy that's getting close to 30 goals. I think he's a 25 to 30 goal scorer when he is playing 82 games.
Yeah.
He needs to play all of those games. And he needs to play consistent. We saw him with stretches of, oh my gosh, he did it again, or Schmaltz did it again. He has to do that for a much longer, more extended period of time. With Barrett Hayton, I think we're finally seeing the Barrett Hayton that John Chaika thought was there when he drafted him so high in the draft. I think if you look through Barrett Hayton's first 33 games, he had 1 goal and 4 assists. The next 49 games, 18 goals, 20 assists. Barrett Hayton can also get to that 20-goal plateau if he just can start off this season with a little better push than he did. He's a 200-foot player, plays in all situations. He, I think, is going to be another guy that takes another step forward this year.
Yeah, and the thing about Barrett Hayton is we said it all season long. It was the tale of like two different parts of the season, his first half and his second half. So if the second half is any indication of what he'll be, and at the beginning of last season we sat here and we're like, okay, who's the breakout player going to be? And we were all kind of team Barrett Hayton, with a sprinkle of Michelli, and I think we can look back and say it was probably Matthias Michelli overall. This really could be Barrett Hayton's year to step up and be that guy on the team.
He just needs to have that consistently through 82 games. And you see where he fit in at the end when he was playing more with Clayton Keller. And I know that last week of the season, they were juggling lines every day.
Yeah.
So, but he played that stretch with Clayton Keller, and they were very, very good together. It's going to be interesting to see how the centers on this team slot out to start the season.
Yeah.
And who's going to fit. Remember Travis Boyd at one time was the number one center.
Yeah.
He falls down to 4 at times. And does McBain take a step forward in the middle of the ice? So I'm curious to see how that works out. And does Barrett Hayton and Clayton Keller, does that tandem stay together for the majority of the year? I think we'll get a better sense of that as we get closer to
the end. And obviously this is like our way too early version of the show. Like
July 1st isn't even here yet.
Yeah.
We don't even know what the
we don't know what
be.
the free, and we'll talk about the pending UFAs and RFAs. And when we get to September and we get to training camp and we look at the where we do the thing where we predict the lines and then are completely wrong.
Yes, exactly.
We'll have a better sense of will they be better or worse. But this is our early look, more so looking backwards at the things that made the Coyotes successful last year and kind of just thinking, could they happen
Especially
again?
with the draft and free agency and things coming up.
You never know.
Yeah, let's get a baseline for what we think today. And boy, howdy, we're going to talk about this a lot with our 5 shows a week. By the time they drop the puck in October, we'll have our right up to that time tell you where this team is going to be. I just think that we're taking a very early look.
Very early.
To see that, hey, there were some positives this year, and these were some of those when they're individual performances, and here's what we think will happen next year.
Yeah, and I want to talk about another thing that was a surprise last season, and that was Mullett Magic. And Charles just mentioned it too, that teams will be better prepared for the Yotes and for Mullett. I think we saw kind of the thing that happened year 1 in Vegas, the Vegas flu, as people called it. I think a similar thing happened here with Mullett. And now that year 1's done, every team has played at the Mullett at this point. Does that wear off? And can the Coyotes have the same level of sustained success at home? Or do they still have it because of the energy, the crowd? They're playing in it 41 games versus the teams that are playing in it, 1 to 4 times.
Yeah, Mullett Magic was real, period. Yeah. We saw it firsthand. We saw them beat teams they shouldn't be competing with, and they beat them in that building because teams were going through there for the first time. That goes away this year. Yeah. I think you have more players with more experience knowing what to face. I think they'll know the experience. They won't be caught up in the surroundings as much as they will the game this time. I think that I'm not saying they won't win their share of games in the Mullett, but you're looking at a team that had over 20 wins at home, and they had 4 fewer wins at home than the Vegas Golden Knights. So this is a team that was exceptional at home. I think they'll be closer to a 500 team at home. I don't think teams are going to come into the Mullett and go, oh, this is really cool. This is neat. Look at these stands. Oh, no, we're down 2 goals. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think they will still be around 500, which is an outstanding home record for the team built like the way this one is. I just don't think Mullett Magic is going to have that big of an impact like it did a year ago.
All right. So there's another factor. I agree. I think they'll still have a better, they'll be good at home. I think they'll stick to being way better at home than on the road, because there is something about the energy in there and the boards and being familiar with all of that. And the one thing that does happen here is that teams sometimes come here and they stay a little longer, or they have their rookie party here, and all of those, off the ice things kind of can play a role in a team's performance. But I agree. I think the shock and awe factor will wear off, and that will make teams win more here than they did last season. The other situation, and we don't need to dive into this too deeply because I know we'll probably dedicate a whole show to it at some point this offseason, but the goaltending situation, it's a fascinating one. Obviously, the Coyotes picked up Connor Ingram on waivers to start the season. Connor Ingram, I think, completely, I don't know if he outperformed expectations or just played really well. Veggie, he he ebbed and flowed as well, but at the start of the season, Veggie was the team's MVP. We saw Prosvetov come up in the end of the season and win some games for the Coyotes. Obviously, and we've talked about this, all three guys will not be on this team to start the season. It just can't happen. We'll dive way deeper into this in the offseason, but a goaltender shuffle, that can have an impact as well. And maybe they bring in maybe a guy like, who was the guy who was here? John Gillies was here, and that's who we thought was going to be the guy. And if it was John Gillies, and no offense to John Gillies, they probably wouldn't have won as many games this past season. Do they turn to go that route, or do they hold on to these young developing guys like a Veggie, like a Prosvetov, and are they going to continue to be on the rise?
Yeah, and I think that this is the one to me that's going to have the biggest effect on where they finish in the point standings. And it goes back to last season when you picked up Connor Ingram, a guy that many saw as the next tier of NHL goalies that he was going to break through from the American League. The Coyotes pick him up off waivers, and he did exactly that. He had a really good season, and it took him a little while to get his footing here for the Coyotes. But as the season progressed, he was really, really good. At points in the season, he was their number one. And you go, oh gosh, they have to go back with Ingram. His last 13 starts, he gets points in 10 of those games. Clearly, he pushed them over the Connor Bedard sweepstakes edge by playing so well. He's an RFA. Prosvetov, RFA. David Tendick, RFA. There's 2 goalies signed for next year, and one of them is Anson Thornton, who's playing in juniors, is 19 years old. Not going to be a factor in playing for the Coyotes next season. And Vejmelka clearly is going to be the number one. It's now who's number 2. They are going to have, in my opinion, they're going to have to either sign Ingram or Prosvetov to a contract next year, and that will greatly determine how this team finishes in the standings. Greatly. And if I had to guess today, I think it's Prosvetov. I think Prosvetov comes back to this organization with his age and where his ability to slot in, and it's too bad for Ingram because I think he's an outstanding goalie, but I think he'll potentially get his rights traded before that.
And he'll probably go on to have
an
unbelievable year
sure.
somewhere else, and because this is where goalies come to it's like goalie college. They come here, they improve, and then they leave, and then they are amazing somewhere else.
Look at Aiden Hill.
Aiden Hill, Darcy Kemper, back-to-back
Devin Dubnyk,
freaking years.
Golov. Yep.
Of and I know the Golden Knights haven't won the Stanley Cup yet, but back-to-back years of a former goalie
winning.
A former Coyotes goalie. Crazy.
Wow.
Ugh. Anyway. Pending UFAs, Brett Ritchie and Laurent Dauphin. Pending RFAs, Christian Fischer, Jack McBain, Jan Yannick, Matthias Machelli, Connor Ingram, and Prosvetov. As you just mentioned, obviously, like we said, it's only June 12th today. Yeah. So who knows which guys are going to go, which guys are going to stay, who the Coyotes are going to bring in after July 1st, what trades could go down at the draft. All those things will factor in to how this all shakes out. But what's your gut telling you?
Yeah, this is another piece. We talk about the goaltending piece being a huge piece of what happens to this team in the standings. This is the other side of it. And we've seen over the last 2 years, Bill Armstrong has taken in contracts for those free agents. He hasn't used those free agents to try to get them over the hump, to get them into the playoffs. He's not using this as, I really want this guy. He'll do that. Like we saw that with Juuso Välimäki. He's a guy that he really valued and he wanted, but he didn't think that's the guy that's going to get us to the promised land right now. He may grow into that. So I don't think this is a team that's going out for free agents. So don't expect this team to sign some big names in the offseason because it's not going to happen. Now, are there players on this list that are going to be back? Absolutely. You still need 20 guys on the ice. So they're going to get some of these players back. They're just not going to be the guys that are big name players that they're trying to sign to get better right now. And here's the big key to this is last season they had a free agent that they signed in Nick Bjugstad. That was the 13th forward in Minnesota.
I feel like we haven't talked about him in so long.
I know, I kind of miss Nick. And they could always get Nick back. But
did you know you're from Minnesota?
I know, Minnesota. I got my Minnesota Cup. You can't see it from there. It's too far away. But I am from Minnesota. But Nick Bjugstad came in and had a really good season. He helped not just on the ice, but in the locker room. Yeah. I think he helped with the younger players. I think he was a leader in that locker room. I do believe that he helped this team get points last year. And points in the standings were attributed to how well he played. And his leaving when going to Edmonton and helping them with their playoff push, you hit it. Bill Armstrong hit it on a free agent that he had to sign, undervalued, that he didn't have to pay much, and he did a great job. I think if you go to the year before and you look at players like Ladd and Beagle, they were contracts he took on. Louis Eriksson, he took contracts on just because of their contracts, not because, hey, these guys are going to help us win. What happens to the free agents this year? Is he going to take on more contracts? Is he going to try to find guys that are less expensive? Is he going to try to find guys that are great in the locker room? Is he going to, I don't know, but I don't get the sense that right now they're looking for guys that are going to get this team into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So can they hit again like they did with some of the free agents over the last 2 years?
And then the other thing that we should mention too is that for the majority of the season, the Coyotes had, well, I don't even know if you can call it the majority for Jacob Chychrun, but they had Jacob Chychrun. They had Shane Goss to spare. All these guys that got traded at the deadline, Troy Stetcher, Nick Ritchie, and I know those two didn't necessarily have like groundbreaking seasons, but those guys were all on the roster for the majority of the season. So, you know, going into next year, they're not on the roster as well. So all of these factors contribute to what we're going to look at next season. Are there any other
No, and I just say when you say Chychrun and Gostisbehere, they were both on points per game defensemen. They were 1 and 2 for this team, and they're gone. So those holes are going to have to be filled.
So what's your gut telling you? Are they better or worse?
For all of those reasons, and I think they overachieved at 70. There's no doubt for all the things.
The over-under was set at 65.
And I said under.
I said under too.
And a team that went from 57 points the year before, I always said don't be surprised if they get 56 or 55. I think this team takes a step backwards in the standings this year. I don't think Keller and Crouse and those guys have the year they had a year ago. I don't think the goaltending is going to get them as many wins as it did a year ago. I don't think they hit on the free agents like they did a year ago. I don't think Mullett Magic comes through like it did a year ago. I think this team goes backwards in the standings, but that doesn't mean to lose hope.
Yeah.
That's just part of the process.
Yeah.
I think the 70 points was elevated by Bear and the coaching staff, and I know he will do another outstanding job again.
We didn't even give him
his because that factor doesn't change. Yeah. He is going to motivate, and he is going to be there doing exactly what Andre Tourigny does. But this is no fault of him or the team. I think they take a step backwards, and I think I'm going under the 65 that was given a year ago. I'm going low 60s for this team. I think it's going to be a tough season. I think they all... By the way, somebody's writing down the time code for this because we're going to play this like a year from now and say, oh, that was a freezing cold take. Probably. I also think they're not going to hit 70 again, but I don't think they're going to slide under the 65. I've underestimated this team a lot over the last year. So I think they'll get under 70, maybe like right at 65. And it's interesting too, because you look ahead, and I think this is a question that a lot of fans have, and I have, and I don't know if Bill Armstrong would ever tell us straight up, but all season long, we're talking about Bedard, we're talking about Fantilli, we're looking at the top of this draft, the generational draft. Well, I'm already glancing at the top of 2024. We've heard Macklin, Celebrini. There's a few other names at the top of that list. Like, do we need to know about those guys again? Is that the purpose of this season? Or are they going to finish more of like a, middle, not necessarily playoff bubble, but like, I don't know. Maybe more like the St. Louis Blues or something, like a season like that. Like they did this year where they pushed for 7. And here's the other piece of that puzzle is the teams that finished below them, Montreal, San Jose, Chicago, Columbus, and Anaheim, are any of those teams going to get better? And I think the answer is Columbus does. I think Columbus is going to have a push. Chicago may get a push with Bedard in. I don't think they're a playoff team by any stretch, but I think they get better. I think San Jose is going to be below them. I think San Jose is battling for the bottom another year. Anaheim is going to get Fantilli, whether he goes to college or not, or jumps right in the NHL. I think they still have Zegras and Troy Terry, and they have a lot of pieces. I think Anaheim may take a step up, although they got to solve some goaltending issues. And I think Montreal is better. So I think you're still looking at Arizona being in that bottom 3 or 4. So I still think they're towards the bottom of the standings. But again, what the hell do we know? Yeah. And and Brady in the chat said, so what you're saying is we're going to tank again. It's expected that Bear will probably coach him up a few games to get the dub, but I'm hopeful more in performance for the development standard. But again, and don't, this isn't a tank. And that's the difference. I don't think. So you don't think it's a tank, but it's more, that's just where they're naturally. It's just the reality of where they're at. And I think this is just the progression. The guys that they've drafted during the tank and during the rebuild aren't here yet. They're not making a daily impact on the progression of this team. And until they do, they're not through the rebuild and they're not done. It's not a tank. They're not trying to get Macklin Celebrini. But if he gets it as part of the fruits of their labor, fine. I just think you're looking at Logan Cooley's going back to college. I don't think players like Connor Geekie are going to make an influence. Lamoureux is not ready to start playing. I just don't think the guys that are there in the cupboards are ready to come out and make a big impact on this team yet. It's not a negative. It's just reality.
Yeah.
It's part of the rebuild that those guys have to mature, develop, get older, and play more and get more experience before they're an impact player in the National Hockey League, and it's not next season.
Interesting. Well, I think this is something we'll have to ask Bill Armstrong later this summer about what his outlook is.
Just realistic expectations.
Yeah. Because I think, like, you know, we're seeing in the comments, like, great, another tank season. Like, but I don't think that's what you're saying. You're not saying, because, and that's another thing. We're gonna have to change our mindsets, because we sat here last year, every winning post game, and said, they're screwing it up.
It's not that this year.
I think next season it'll be like, on the losses, we'll be saying, okay, like, here's, you know, maybe what Clayton Keller, how he fell short in this, like, looking more at the individuals and like, you know, Brady mentioned the development. Brian said the way Petey forecast the Yotes to win the cup next year.
Yeah, and my predictions are bad. I'm bad.
No, that's why I was like, the Coyotes are going to cut this and like play it on the Jumbotron in the arena of you saying they're going to be bad.
I feel like this is a good time to promote that Petey will be on PHNX Bets with me tomorrow.
He'll be on Bets again, by the way. I went 0 for 6 the last time I bet, so tune in and go against me, which isn't a bad pick.
Oh, man. Well, whatever happens with the Coyotes, we will, especially this summer, a lot will unfold. I think we should revisit this topic maybe in September, and with Craig here as well, and we'll talk to Bill Armstrong about it. But it is really interesting to think, and I think on this version of this experiment, we looked back and said, are those things sustainable? Yes. And then now, as the pieces move over the summer with free agency, with the draft, with trades, we'll be able to look better ahead, and also see what the other teams are doing too. Like you mentioned, like Columbus, they've went out and made some big trades. They're going to have a new coach. Anaheim has a new coach. Like, there's all these things. So we will see. It's really, really interesting. And obviously, BetMGM will have their line out on for Coyotes point total. It won't come out for a bit, but we'll keep track of that. The NBA Finals tonight, the NHL Finals tomorrow. Championships could be won tonight and tomorrow. And if you want to bet on it on BetMGM, be sure to do so. And right now there's a special offer on BetMGM. Swing for the fences. Have you tried this yet? It's really fun. So you log into the app and you play the BetMGM MLB free-to-play game. This goes through September. You pick a strike zone. You just choose one box, and then they throw it like it's a little animation.
Yes.
And you can just like win something. So you can win a free bet, or you can win a profit boost or something. Like, it's just, or sometimes you don't get anything, but you can do it once a day. It's really fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you've done it?
I've done it.
Okay.
It's really fun.
I'll try.
So check it out on BetMGM. If you haven't signed up yet, use the bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our Arizona audience, you'll get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you use the bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details, and now you can listen to Shane and talk about the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
Thank you to Shane. By the way, shout out Shane. I doubt he's watching. He just got his wisdom teeth out this morning. So maybe I'll bring him a Polar Pop later, because that's just about all he can consume right now, which is fine. I mean, who wouldn't want a Polar Pop? Circle K. We love the Polar Pops. Love their snacks. Can't have those right now.
But somebody saw you again on the screen. I saw it on Twitter. Somebody else saw you. And
somebody texted me who I literally haven't heard from in like 3 years. Yeah, it was really funny. That was
And you have yet to see yourself at the pump?
Yep, yet to see myself. So check out Circle K. You can go inside, grab a Polar Pop, grab some snacks, and get some gas. Make sure you're not missing out on all the great stuff. And you can text PHNX to 31310 right now to join their SMS subscriber club and get a buy one, get one free offer on 32-ounce Polar Pops. Head to circlek.com/store-locator to find Circle K's near you. All right, before we move on to our prospect spotlight of the day, I do just want to read Michael's comment, because he said, tank equals playing with what we have without an announcement of the new arena. With news, the Mullett Magic will erupt.
Yeah.
That is a really interesting
That's an intangible
point.
we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
If the franchise continues to be mired in controversy and questions, this team is going to be bad.
Because that's going to hang over everybody.
100%.
The players are all human
Coaches,
beings.
players, management. It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
If this is hanging over everybody October, November, and drags on with no solutions, I've said this before. The way to get last and to be bad is to have trouble in the locker room. Now, that's not trouble of a bad player or controversy. It's sadness.
Like, think about how your life is affected when there's something going, like how your work is affected when there's something going on in your personal life.
Yep.
It's the same thing. Yeah. So great point, Michael. Thanks for bringing that up.
Intangibles.
Yep. Well, turning toward the future, we're going to continue our prospect spotlight, our daily spotlight of a potential guy the Coyotes can pick in the 6 to 12 range. We're not talking about the top guys. We're talking about the 6 to 12 range. And our prospect today is Zach Benson. And before we get into anything about Zach Benson related to hockey, we need to see Zach Benson's mullet. So this is literally his hair right now.
Oh my
what
God.
A flow. This was this past week at the NHL Scouting Combine. Zach Benson would fit right in at Mullett Arena.
Yeah, well, the Coyotes should look at drafting him literally just
for
because
his
of the hair.
Yeah.
And we talked about last year.
That pushes him up a spot for me.
So last year, remember who they drafted at the draft last year with that great hair?
Connor Geekie.
Yeah. What team and who does he line mates with?
In Winnipeg.
Winnipeg.
Benson. Wow, that's a great hairline.
Connor Geekie. Great hairline.
The dub. Love it. But yeah, Zach Benson, he played what?
The hairline is a fire nickname.
The hairline,
for a really good, like a line with it's better. It was like the French Connection. This is the hairline.
Hairline, love it. Well, maybe he'll be here. Zach Benson, like we mentioned, he plays for the Winnipeg Ice on a line with Connor Geekie. He's 5'10", 163 pounds, had 98 points in 60 games for the dub this past season. Petey, what do you know about Zach Benson?
Well, first of all, my computer's broken, so that makes me very sad.
That's really fun.
My keyboard doesn't work, so that's sad. Zach Benson, here's some things. He is. They talk about very high IQ. They talk about a kid whose motor goes and goes and goes and goes. The one knock on Zach Benson is his size.
Yeah.
And so I want Coyotes fans to picture this is Connor Garland, but at the time, this is a better Connor Garland of their draft year. And this is by no means a knock on G. I'm just saying, all things being equal, this kid, he's a good hockey player. The concern is going to be his size. When he's on the ice, you notice him. He works incredibly hard. He's up and down the ice. He's a very smart player, can play in all situations. I'm just, for this team right now, for the Arizona Coyotes, and I clearly have nothing to do with their draft, I think they have Logan Cooley. They have Matthias Michelli. I don't know if they need to have another small player like Zach Benson. I think this is a player that probably will still be available at 6. But I don't think he'll be there at 12.
Really?
I think he's more of a 9, 10, 11 range.
Okay.
He's very well thought of. He's dynamic. He plays with Connor Geekie that we talked about already. He's put up the number of points he has with his team in Winnipeg. Great shot, high skill, and high IQ.
Yeah. Friend of the program, Chris Peters, had said about him that he doesn't know if he's a top 10 guy just given the rest of the draft class. But as he said, he has enough tools worth betting on aggressively. And he also mentioned what you said, that his size is a concern, but he has a high motor and a compete level and a dangerous offensive skill set. So, when you are a smaller guy, if you have, I think, the inner drive to outwork everybody else, that can get you far in this game.
For sure. And we talked about what the interview process is like. He may impress people with the things he says. And the other thing we talked about when you get to the draft is you draft for something that you need. And we've talked about teams that are looking for high skill that might be okay with a smaller player because they have bigger, stronger guys that can get him the puck. They just need this dynamic, or they want his presence in the locker room, or they want his work ethic. I still think a player like this is extremely valuable on a team, and I think he can slot into different spots high up in the lineup. Again, I just go back to the question mark on teams is going to be his size. And right now we see that size is at a premium in the National Hockey League. I think that is going to make his stocks, he'll slide a little bit, but I still think he's a good enough player that you'll see him go high.
Yep, for sure. So Zach Benson, we'll see. Maybe he's there at 12 and maybe they consider taking him there. But yeah, there's our prospect highlight of the day.
And again, here's what I want to say about our prospect highlight of the day, Leah. Our opinion, we don't watch the guys.
Yeah, we don't.
I watch a little bit of highlights, but I don't watch them extensively.
We're kind of polling the experts. We're pulling in their knowledge.
We want you to know, as people that follow the Coyotes and fans of the Coyotes, I want you to understand all of the names. So when this group goes to Nashville and you hear a name, you go, oh, I've heard of that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard you. I just want you to hear the name so that not everybody goes, oh, the only player available is Connor Bedard, because it's not true. It's a deep draft, and people should know these names.
Yep.
There.
For sure. And there's some comments that we like the Coyotes have size with Crouse and McBain and stuff like that. Geeky, he's tall. So, maybe it's not the worst thing. And then, Roaring Fork said draft the best player at 6, no matter who it is. Like, how big's Cole Caulfield? It's true. Based on the draft rankings we've seen, I don't know if Zach Benson is the best player at 6, but he's definitely the best player at wherever he goes. And it's going to be in the high first round. He'll be the best player at that point.
And I think, and again, this is just from the people I've talked to. We talked about Ryan Leonard earlier in the week, and I think if Ryan Leonard's there at 6, Ryan Leonard's the better player. I just don't know because one of the things, the other knock with Zach Benson is his straight ahead speed and his skating ability is not to the elite level yet. And I think if you're going to be small, you better be an outstanding skater. And I don't think his skating is outstanding. We talk about a motor, just means he's always going and working hard. Doesn't mean he's always the fastest guy on the ice, or his foot speed's really impressive. So that's why I think he drops a little bit lower from that group where you see there's some really strong, skilled skaters.
Yeah.
You see the need for centermen who are going to get drafted higher. So I'm not knocking that he's not a good player. I just don't think he has all of the tools that some of the other players that we've talked about already have.
Absolutely. Sean just ran out of the room. I was going to queue up our next segment, but that's okay. We can skip it.
But we can do it right now because he's coming back. Because what we're talking about at the draft, is that what segment we're going to talk about next? Is it the draft? Great. Tee it up.
So we leave
2 weeks
from today, but
we'll be there.
We'll be there because our flight's at freaking 5 a.m.
5 in the morning. Who books that? Does Saul book that? Oh, 5 a.m. buddy.
Anyway, so we'll be there. So 2 weeks, but about 10 shows pretty much until then. So we're going to do 10 days of Tootsies.
10 days of Tootsies.
Until
because we've heard what I've got to say about Tootsies.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of Tootsies. And by the way, if you get a chance to go to the draft this year in Nashville and try to stop in Tootsies, it will be the place to see NHL people. We've already talked to Craig Button, said he will be at Tootsies. I'm telling you, it'll be hard to get into Tootsies, but I've got it.
You know some people?
I know. I got another way in. We'll figure it out. We just have to pose as delivery guys, but that's a whole nother story. So what I thought we'd do is we do 10 days of Tootsies, and I want people that are either coming with us or people that are here want to live vicariously through us. I'm going to put pictures up every show between now and the time we leave of Tootsies. The first one, I want to get you an idea of the space at Tootsies. So we're going to go ahead and put up the picture. This is the inside of Tootsies, and this picture is taken from the exact same vantage point. This is 2 pictures. This is not a big bar. This is one picture from the top of the stairs at the back of the bar. And you could see the stage at the front. Right when you walk in the front door, the band is like right there. You bump into the stage with your feet. Like it's right there. Think of a trailer home. Like it might be a double wide, maybe. But it is tight and it is narrow. And it is hard to get from the front door to where I'm standing on the back steps because you got to get through a lot of people. Just so you can prepare yourself, Leah, it is elbow to elbow. And there are people everywhere, but it's very, very, very small space. So this is from the top stairs of the second floor because there is a second floor where there is another band and another stage and another bar. And we'll go to both. And then when you take the next stairs up, there is another bar and an outdoor stage. And there's a lot going on at Tootsies, but the main floor of Tootsies is very, very small. So bring your patient hat on.
Okay.
And that is the first picture of the 10 days of Tootsies.
Day 1 of 10 days of Tootsies. I love it. I'm hype. I'm ready. I can't wait. I am excited for those of you who are coming with us to Nashville. Many of you I know are diehards, so you got 20% off on your tickets. We're doing the pontoon boat with all you can drink. We're doing winery, meetups, all of it, and all of that.
Is this your beer at a winery tour? Just wondering.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know the answer. But plenty of perks to becoming a diehard. Obviously, like I mentioned, 20% off events, 20% off on merchandise.
Merch.
By the way,
I need a new one of these.
Yeah, order some. There's some great stuff in the locker. And right now there's a Father's Day sale going on from now until the 18th. It's buy one, get one, half off all shirts and hats in the PHNX locker. And I believe today is the last day to order to guarantee it gets to your dad in time for Father's Day.
What day was that?
The 18th.
Okay.
So Father's Day is the 18th. Today, Monday the 12th, is the last day to guarantee that it gets there in time.
Get off. The show's over. Get on.
Or just open it on your phone right now. PHNXlocker.com. Check it out and take advantage of this sale. But also tons of great perks to becoming a diehard. Obviously, you get access to our Discord where, oh my God, all weekend long, chit-chatting away. Some armchair GM action. I love it. I love our Discord.
Aren't they very smart in our Discord?
Very
smart.
So, yeah. Become a diehard, and another perk of being a diehard is you get a $50 voucher to Mountain Mike's Pizza when you become a diehard. Mountain Mike's Pizza, amazing. If you're going to be in Arizona for the draft and you're going to have a draft party, order some Mountain Mike's. They have pizza, they have wings, they have salads. Use your $50 voucher. We love Mountain Mike's. We're getting a delivery tomorrow, so you'll be there. Yeah.
I feel what happened to Mondays? I thought it was Mondays is Mountain Mike's.
I don't know. Max is in South America.
Wait, is he ever coming back?
And he sent us a pre-programmed message about when Mountain Mike's.
I'm excited
But he had to do that because we all are so obsessed. We're like, Max, when's Mountain Mike's? So
and the one thing I want to say about Mountain Mike's is it's a mountain of pizza. But legit, remember we did the thing at Dobson Ranch? It was a mountain of Mountain Mike's.
Yeah, you're right.
Boy, howdy. So if you're like your pizza pies.
Boy, howdy, if you like your pizza pies, head over to mountainmikespizza.com.
We should make Matthias Michelli the spokesman. Matthias Michelli and the Mountain of Mike's. Is he not the perfect guy?
He's perfect. You should pitch
Matthias
that to the
marketing. Eminem and Eminem. Matthias Michelli and Mountain Mike's. There's something in there somewhere. I'll work on it.
Oh, okay. Well, you can go to mountainmikespizza.com or to their Mesa, Chandler, or Tucson locations to place your next order. And as a reminder, new diehards get a $50 voucher upon signing up. All right, Petey. Last thing of the day. We had Game 4 over the weekend. We never even talked about Game 3, but it doesn't really matter. Florida's down 3-1. Vegas heading home for Game 5. Could win the Stanley Cup on Tuesday. What did you think about the last weekend? We'll look ahead tomorrow, but what did you think about the games?
You know what? Vegas has just been too good. And I don't think Florida ever got their feet back underneath them after the 9-day layoff. I don't think they ever became the wagon that they were for the last 2 rounds, and that from Bobrovsky on out. I don't think they ever had the offensive push that they had during those games. I don't think they ever found their speed. We talked about it last time we talked about their games, is they got away from their speed game and got to the physical game, and I thought there were glimpses in Game 3 and 4 where I go, oh, okay, they're getting their offensive wheels back together and they're going to get their offense going again. And then it would go back to dumb penalties and sitting in the penalty box. And you can't win important games when you're playing selfish and stupid. And unfortunately, I think that's where Florida got off the rails this entire series. I don't think they were able to have the discipline to get through. And I was hoping for a better series than what we've seen. I thought they were more evenly matched. But I tell you, this Vegas team has really surprised me. Their ability to score and defend and play both ends of the ice has been amazing. They've truly been the best team in this playoffs. Yeah. And I one thing I want to say is funny. We sat here and we're guilty of it. The entire season, all we kept saying was the East. Look at the East. Look at the East.
No,
Look
but we
Boston.
Also said don't discount the West.
And here you go. Yeah. Now the West is going to roll through, and you're going, gosh. Once Boston got eliminated, you start going, oh my goodness, maybe there are some good teams out West too. So I think that West Coast or East Coast bias, it's real. This Vegas team is good. They're deep. They're good players, have been good players, and Aiden Hill came out of nowhere to be a star.
Yeah, we need to talk more about him this week too.
For sure.
Because he deserves his flowers. I have to say I'm disappointed because I think seeing the route Florida took to get here, the route Vegas took to get here, we saw on BetMGM how evenly matched the lines were in terms of the favorites. It was razor thin margin. We saw game 1, you thought, oh, this is going to be a really great series. So I, just from a fan who doesn't really have like a legitimate rooting interest, I'm feeling disappointed because I wanted it to go 7. I wanted it, to be, one here, one there. Like, I don't want to see a team. I don't want to see a team win in 5. Like, that's boring to me.
Remember, Florida's been here before.
Oh, yeah. Like,
so we'll have to tune in tomorrow to bets to see what we really think.
And don't discount, do not discount Florida because, like, again, this is the episode of anyone clipping our cold takes. But
do you remember last year, this exact setup was the Colorado Avalanche were headed home to close out the series in game 5? Mm-hmm. And everybody said, oh, Colorado's going to go back and win this at home. And guys were planning Stanley Cup parties and events, and the bars downtown were like planning for this.
I do remember this.
Man, they didn't win.
I mean, the Panthers, I mentioned this last week, the Panthers were down 3-1 to the Boston Bruins, who are like the greatest regular season team of all time. So.
And Dan brings up a good point, the Tkachuk injury and what does that mean? And they're being hush-hush and what's his status and how much will he play and can he play and all of those things. His ability to be a factor in the game is hindered if he's hurt. There's no doubt about it. So how hurt and how much can he make an effect on the game? He's going to have to be a guy that can help provide something to his team. And he's a player that can do that even if he's sitting on the bench. It's just motivation. So let's hope his injury isn't severe enough that he is able to be a player that can make an impact in the game in game 6, because game 5. If he can make an impact in game 5, you do worry about game 5 when it's, people say the hardest game to win in is the final one. And it's this, Vegas can't get ahead of themselves. Florida is good enough to win. Their goaltender is good enough to win a game. They have enough offensive weapons to score goals. You cannot look past it going, this is it. We're going to win at home and we're going to have a party. So we'll talk more tomorrow.
If Florida comes back and wins the series, it would be unreal. Wow. It would be wow.
Wow.
Like, wow. Leap year.
That's
How about
amazing.
that? How about
that? Can I tell you, are we going there?
Yeah.
So people may or may not know, because I don't know if I talked about it here, but I'm getting my house painted. By the way, if you want to get claustrophobia, get your house painted and they put plastic over your window for the
Craig
whole weekend.
sent in his picture. It's like, here's my view of Monaco. And then Petey sent back, here's my windows all taped over in my house.
Literally can't look out the window for a day, and over the weekend it's miserable. So I saw my neighbor. He was out working on his car. So I brought over, true stories, middle of the day, on a Sunday, I brought over wows.
Nice.
To his driveway. We sat in his driveway and drank wows.
Love that.
Because it was a perfect sunny day when you're working on your car. I wasn't working on my car because I don't. He was. And we had wows together.
I love that. Wow goes well with anything. Four Peaks beer goes well with anything. I especially love drinking a beer while watching sports. So this could be the last 2 final games in NBA and NHL today and tomorrow. It might not be, but either way, make sure you have a Four Peaks beer in your hand if you're 21 or older, of course. And you can check out at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. But you got to be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly. Anything else before we head out?
No, I mean, we're getting close to the end of hockey.
Yeah, we're getting close, and we're getting close to the draft.
The draft thing is freaking me out. It's 2 weeks from today. I've actually started to go through my closet and go, what am I going to have to bring?
Yeah, me too.
Like, we've got to do wardrobe things because we got to do things. We're going to the NHL award show.
Yeah.
We're going to the draft. We're putting on live shows. We may walk and talk. If anybody else is interested in that, they may or may not, because we're going to have a lot of people there to walk and talk with. And we also have to find time to get fun. I was going to say to get drunk, but
Get fun.
Get fun.
Get fun with us in Nashville. So
that's the other thing at Tootsie's, at the top of the stairs. They have a barrel of fun. You know, like the big barrel full of ice and beer. That's, by the way, that's where you should order your beer from. The top of the stairs, in the back, they have the big metal barrel of beer, and they got the beer person there. You don't have to wait in line. You just,
love it.
But you have to like one of the beers in the barrel. And you usually can find one of the beers in the barrel because I have more than one beer in the barrel. So it's a beer barrel beer. And that's where I'm going to go. Say it one more time. Yeah, there's a lot of tricks. I got to teach you because the bathroom is in the back corner. You can't get to it.
Save this for day 2 of Tootsie's.
It's going to be unbelievable. There's a couple bathroom hacks Tootsie bathroom hacks.
Good Lord. Petey is a wealth of knowledge on Tootsies and hockey. Yep. We will be back tomorrow live at 11 a.m. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at SPetersHockey, at Leah Merrill, at Sean_DePaz. Follow Craig and his pictures at Craig S. Morgan. You can follow the show at PHNX_Coyotes. Be sure to subscribe to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss when we go live. We're live every day this week at 11 a.m. So join us here. Set a reminder. Block off a lunch hour on your work calendar. Whatever you got to do to join us.
Do you want to tell them who's on tomorrow? Or was that not for sure yet?
We have 2 guests this week, so Stay tuned. That's all I got to say. Okay. But everyone, we appreciate you so much for being here. Be sure to hit the like button on this video. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back at 11 a.m. on Tuesday. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody.